Hey guys, Erik here, publisher Great Lakes Scuttlebutt magazine. I'm excited to be joining you today for a wonderful opportunity to talk to Norm Schultz via our Zoom call. Norm is the past president of the Lake Erie Marine Trade Association. And Norm today is going to share with us a little bit of information about what's going on in these troubling times in the boating industry. So Norm, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great, Erik. I'm glad to talk to you. I see behind you Put-in-Bay. I think that's a picture behind you, the monument. Man, I can't tell you the number of years I spent on that island, and I do miss it a lot.
It is a wonderful place, and today is what, April 27th? Well, April 25th, I took my kids through Put-in-Bay, and on our little center council boat on Friday, or Saturday, I think it was. It was a little cold out there in the lake, but some wonderful memories. Not anybody really around out there right now, and I guess that's kind of some of the stuff that we'll be talking about today.
Yeah, I suppose, but I'm jealous that you got up to the island. That's great.
Hey, anytime you can get out on the water in April is a good time, especially during what's going on right now. I mean, there's a lot of fear and a lot of concern out there and a lot of misunderstanding. And, you know, although we are considered an essential business here in Ohio, there are other states where that's kind of, you know, wavering a little bit. And although we get to go out boating, there's still some confusion as to what should we do when we're out there.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, unfortunately. Ohio, I think, was in the forefront of all the states in communicating with, in your case, Governor DeWine in Ohio, making sure they understood the essential need for boating and what it means in terms of economics, in terms of lifestyles for Ohioans. And so boating, obviously, other than the showrooms in the dealerships, all the rest of boating is basically considered essential in Ohio. So boats are being launched, marinas are open, fuel docks are going to be open, social distancing and a lot of those precautions are involved. But the bottom line is, unlike Michigan, which sadly said no power boating. And I really don't understand Governor Whitmer ever coming up with that thought. She's now revised that. But anyway, the people in Michigan suddenly got throttled, and I don't know why. As you know, I live in Florida most of the time now. And down here, only the Miami area has ever been restricted in terms of launching ramps or boating. And that was because the outbreak there was horrendous, is horrendous. They talk about New York, but Miami has had a very tough go. So that area of boating was kind of shut down, but the rest of the state has been wide open. My great escape, frankly, is getting out on my boat and going out on the Gulf of Mexico and fishing and just relaxing. And I know that's what boaters have in store this summer up north, or obviously here around. It is an escape. The boat is an escape machine. That's what it's always been.
Yes.
And there's something magical about when you cast off from the dock, you leave the problems of day-to-day routines and the bills and all the rest behind on the dock. You don't take them with you. And you get out on the water and you can turn left or right and do wherever, you know, kind of go where you want to go. You're your own captain. And social distancing is very easy with boats. You know, obviously, a lot of times boats will raft together for parties. I don't see that happening now, and it's not. I came in the Madeira Beach cut here in Florida last week, and inside that cut, there's an enormous sandbar area, and hundreds of boats will raft up and party out there on that peninsula or on that sand area. This year, when we came in last weekend, we must have seen 200 boats, but none of them were rafted up or tied to each other. They were all spaced out. So boaters got the distancing message, even though they're using the boats. And I think that's going to be true all over the country, especially up there in the Great Lakes now that you're starting the season.
But there's so many boaters who are actually taking advantage of the opportunity, if they can in their state, to not only go boating, but to do that responsibly. Now, you're really seeing a great collection of people here in the United States take this pandemic very seriously and take what their pastimes are equally seriously by going out and making sure that they are staying responsibly away from one another. not rafting off, not doing the huge sandbar parties and things like that. Obviously, the restaurants, the bars, they're not open that they can go to. So they need to find a way to be able to boat responsibly. And boaters seem to be doing that down in Michigan. I know they're doing, or down in Florida, I know they're doing it. Up here in the Great Lakes, they seem to be doing that as well. So let's just applaud those boaters who are out there being responsible with their pastime.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's no hot dogs and base running and sports and all of those things right now, which we're all missing. And I guess maybe in the next few weeks or whatever, maybe they'll, I'm getting tired of watching old baseball games and last year's basketball game. So my boat is my refuge, and that will be true for all boaters. There's another whole aspect, and that's the fishing. Up there, I know Lake Erie extremely well. As you know, lived there for 40 years, boated there on that lake for 40 years. The walleye fishing this year is superb. I mean, it's just been spring incredible. It's going to be an incredible summer. And so fishing as an activity is an enormous part of boating. And I love fishing because, you know, the most optimistic people in the world are those of us who fish, because we go out every day believing that this is the day we're going to catch the big one. And when we don't, the next day when we go out, we believe that's the day. We're the most optimistic people in the world. And so fishing will be a big aspect this summer. And obviously being able to use your boat to go fishing will be, again, a great escape for families in Ohio and well, throughout the country, obviously. So that's
you have a lot of experience in the marine space, and it's not only just here in Ohio, and obviously now being retired down in Florida, and fishing and being out in Lake Erie, but on a national scale, when it comes to the marine industry as a whole, what do you see happening as their reaction to the COVID-19 outbreak, and what is their future? What do you think it holds for them?
Right. Well, in terms of what's happening in this industry now, you know, predicting the future is a little difficult, but I got some thoughts about what's going to happen. But right now, in most of the country, including Michigan, which was the state up north that just shut down boating for no reason, dealerships are operating. Now, they're operating in this way. The service facilities are operating to service the boats. The fuel docks and the marinas are all open. What is not open in most situations is the showroom. Now, that doesn't mean people aren't buying boats or can't look at boats. They can't, obviously, on the internet. Most showrooms are open by appointment. So there's no crowds or anything in the showrooms now in the dealerships, but you can get an appointment to come in and see boats. Some dealers will bring the boat outside, so you don't even have to go inside. There are being made, and one of the neat things, if you were thinking about buying a boat, and you're going to buy a boat this summer, and I sure suggest you do, manufacturer incentives it's like the auto industry right now. The incentives to buy have never been better. So if you're in a buying position, you're going to save mega bucks this year if you get down and buy them. Now, looking forward, boats are going to become, new boats are going to become in short supply this summer, frankly, because a lot of the boat plants now have curtailed or cut down on the number of employees. They now have to do the social distancing thing if they're producing boats much harder. You can't put 3 or 4 workers laying up fiberglass side by side together, all sorts of reasons why the production will be reduced. And therefore, some models may not be available this summer, etc. So I guess what I'm saying is now is a great time to buy, and you can buy. It's not a question that the boating industry is shut down. It's just, again, work with your local dealer on how you see the boat, etc., etc. Looking forward, one of the interesting things we're talking about internally in the industry is what do we do if the social distancing continues, and as Dr. Burtz has said, she sees it continuing for quite a number of months yet. What that entails in terms of the late summer and fall boat shows is an interesting. And we're looking, you know, as associations at that possibility that those shows will not be produced. Some of the spring shows, I remember up in Michigan, the Novi show, a great show, opened on a Thursday and had to shut down for the rest of the weekend in March. The big Minnesota show up in Minneapolis was canceled. LEMTA canceled its big CIC show at the Catawba Island Club, beautiful show. That got canceled the 1st of May. it was scheduled for the end of April. It's canceled, obviously. So where the social distancing is going to apply and how long is really the big open question, and that will impact boat shows. Now, interestingly, the associations like Lake Erie Marine Trades and the Michigan Boating Industries Association, others are looking at, are there ways to do digital boat shows in the future? The technology exists, whether the format and all of the rest can be done, and whether it's worth doing, and all of that is being examined now. And that's all anticipation, or all in anticipation of a possible fall season where we don't have any of our fall boat shows. And as you know, there's some really big major shows, boat shows around the country in the fall: Annapolis, Fort Lauderdale, Cedar Point, Michigan. I mean, there's some biggies. So we're looking down the road at that, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. There is a friend of mine who produces a show that's scheduled for middle of August in Orlando. And I said, well, you know, the amusement parks, Disney World, they're all shut down. So how are you going to do a show? And he said, well, we're obviously going to key on the amusement parks. If the amusement parks like SeaWorld and Disney World and Universal aren't open, clearly we're not going to have a boat show. But we're getting prepared, and what we're doing is we've ordered 100,000 masks. We're going to get temperature things. We're going to have one-way. We're talking about one-way aisles. We're talking about hired cleaning crews that immediately clean the boat after people have looked at a particular boat and been on board it. There's all sorts of those kinds of things we're talking about. Whether we'll do the show or not, we don't know. But we're at least planning that it might be possible to do a show. So that's one of the things the industry really is in a quandary about, where all the boat shows going to go if they don't go.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. It's a new normal that we'll be dealing with here over the next, well, few set of months, maybe even year, 2 years, or from here on out. We have to be creative and innovative and think of different ways to be able to communicate with the boating industry and the boaters themselves. And we greatly appreciate your time today on this, Norm. If there's any other information that you'd like to share with us, obviously you're a writer for Great Lakes Scuttlebutt magazine. We've seen you put some fantastic material out there over the last few years. We thank you very much for that, sir.
Well, it's been my pleasure. And you know, what Scuttlebutt does is try to get the message about boating out, and it is the greatest family sport. I think we know it's the #1 family sport in the country. Also got a huge economic impact. So boating is an essential industry in my judgment, but it's also essential to the quality of life that those who pursue it. And so, wish you well up there in the north. We're going to be down here boating in the summer in the south, but I'm sure the boating's going to do well, and all the boaters are going to enjoy this summer no matter what happens.
Well, thank you very much, Norm. We greatly appreciate your time. All the best down there, and I'll be waiting for that wahoo or whatever, mahi or whatever fish you're going to be bringing in out there from the Tampa Bay area. I'll be looking for that invite soon, my man.
There you go, my friend. I believe in Bob Knight's famous expression, everyone should believe in something. I believe I'll go fishing.
Well, thank you again, Norm. Have yourself a great day, sir. We'll see you out on the water.